For more, let's bring in Republican Congressman from Arizona and member of the House Armed Services Committee and Veteran Affairs Committee, Abe Hamadeh. Abe, Congressman, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be with you, Lydia.
You know, what's incredible to me is I noticed after that, fiery meeting that Zelensky started. I watched the entire thing. It was 50 minutes long, and towards the end of it, you see as soon as he started talking about diplomacy, that's where Zelensky got all fired up, and he goes at it with J.D. Vance. He doesn't even call him Vice President Vance. He calls him J.D. And then, not even an hour after the fiery exchange, Lindsey Graham, he came out, and he's a staunch ally of Zelensky, and he wasn't on his side anymore. Take a look at this.
We want to be helpful. What I saw in the Oval Office was disrespectful, and I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelensky again. I think most Americans saw a guy that they would not want to go in business with. The way he handled the meeting, the way he confronted the president, was just over the top. He either needs to resign and send somebody over that we can do business with, or he needs to change.
What do you think about that? I mean, he was a staunch ally of Zelensky. He's a big, and look, even he's saying, you know what, you made a mistake here. You overplayed your hand, Zelensky.
Lydia, I think this was a disastrous result for not only Zelensky, but sadly the Ukrainian people as well. And remember, this isn't a Republican issue. If you look at former President Joe Biden, he also said on a phone call with Zelensky that he wasn't being grateful enough. So it seems to be the MO for Zelensky is to just take, but without being appreciative. I think what would have benefited Zelensky was having some humility walking into the Oval Office. You know, he's dealt with President Trump before in his previous term, and instead, he could have actually built a relationship with him. President Trump has said many good things about him before, especially when the whole Russiagate collusion was happening. So this did not go well for Zelensky, and this was entirely his own doing. But I commend President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance for standing up for once for the American people and American war fighters, because so many Americans are wondering where all this money is going and what are the benefits and whether the people there are actually grateful. And sadly, with the leader of Zelensky, I didn't do him any favors, and I'm not sure how I agree with Senator Graham. I don't know how he's going to maintain leading that country going forward when the biggest backer of Ukraine has been the United States. So he did himself zero favors by coming to Washington. I mean, to get yourself kicked out of the White House in that manner was truly embarrassing for him.
Right. You saw things kind of turn at the 20-minute mark of that press briefing when a reporter asked Zelensky, why aren't you wearing a suit? And then instead of just saying, well, this is what I like to wear, he said, what? This is I don't want to wear your costume. And meanwhile, every single leader that was male in that room was wearing a suit. So it seemed very rude and very flippant. There was this kind of viral moment where the Ukrainian ambassador, she put her hand like over her face like this, like a face plant. There it is. There's the photo. I think that perfectly encapsulates, right, how many were feeling about Zelensky's behavior. So, Congressman, what do you think about the fact that you have the left media around the world, as well as here in the United States, portraying Trump and J.D. Vance as the aggressors, when if you watch the entire thing, you see that Zelensky started the whole thing?
Well, it'd be fake news, and I think that's why it was genius that President Trump had the press there the whole time, because the American people could witness it firsthand, diplomacy in action, and to see Zelensky totally embarrass himself and do himself no favors. Even his own ambassador recognized that, because this has been taking weeks and weeks on end to try to get this minerals deal in order to stop this conflict. And showing some humility would have done him a great service. Instead, he went in there with the backings of so many of the Europeans, and he thinks he's just owed all this money and equipment. And that was telling. When we have Americans here suffering at home, our friends in North Carolina or Hawaii from the previous year. So many Americans are wondering, why are we supporting a country right now that is so ungrateful? And Zelensky, terrible diplomacy. And I don't think he can maintain being president and wanting a good relationship with President Trump. The Ukrainians would do themselves a favor by replacing Zelensky.
Shortly after that blowout at the White House, Zelensky appeared on Fox News, and he had a different demeanor about him. Take a look.
I'm very thankful to to Americans for all your support. You did a lot. I'm thankful to President Trump and to Congress bipartisan support. And I was always very thankful from all our people. You helped us a lot from the very beginning during 3 years of full-scale invasion. You helped us to survive. Anyway, we are strategic partners.
This is the attitude he should have come in with and not what he did. What do you think?
You stole the words right from me, Lydia. Where was the discipline? Where was the humility? Where was the diplomacy that he did with Bret Baier on Fox News for that? But he obviously entered the White House, understanding that it might be a tense type of relationship going forward. But that was entirely in his own mind. President Trump wants to end this war. He wants to end it not just for the United States, but for the Ukrainian people as well. And Zelensky was not grateful and has showed zero sense of gratitude for what we've been putting up with over the past 3 years. This war should have ended a long time ago. There's been a lot of settlements, peace processes before that the previous administration rejected, but now President Trump understands the position that both Ukraine and Russia is in, and that's called diplomacy. And sometimes you're not in the strongest position, but you got to negotiate. And Zelensky, sadly, is returning back home with no mineral rights deal and with no victories to go back home to.
Congressman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Lydia.